Hello, this is Zambia. Today I'm your host, Faith Katai. The International Women's Day is held every year on the 8th of March. On this day, women are celebrated world over. This year's theme is dubbed Equity, Women and Girls Empowerment. On the program, we will be discussing issues around the theme. To help us with more information, we have Maureen Nenechi, who is a transformation trailblazer, a distinguished consultant, trainer, speaker, and a certified life coach by Maxwell Leadership Trainer. Madam, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Faith. I'm super grateful to be here.
Wonderful. To get started, how can we accelerate progress towards achieving equity for women and girls as a country?
Okay, so as a country, it's very much to do with policy. Yeah, we need to introduce policies and implement them, because introducing them is not just enough. They need to be implemented and enforced. And these policies must be able to promote women and girls' participation in different activities, economical, social, and any area really that borders on this nation of Zambia. Yeah, so we need those policies. That is number one. The second one is awareness. We need to create awareness, because, you know, there's this stereotype, and there's also what we call more like, how can I call it, where people think that unconsciously, rather, so we call it unconscious bias, where people think that participation in national issues is only limited to men. You get what I'm saying, right? So we need also to create that awareness. Yes, there's been traction that has been made. I'm sure you have seen a lot of women participating in the different issues of society. They are voicing out. They are contributing significantly in the marketplace, in politics. We have seen that. But when you look at the numbers are not very encouraging. There are very, very few women, really. I was reading a report by Grant Thornton, and they did mention that, especially like in the corporate world, at the C-suite level, you realize that there's only participation between 15 to 25%. So meaning that if we go with the highest threshold, the highest statistic, which is 25%, it means 75% participation is coming from the male folk. So what is happening? We need to still create that awareness. And I'm aware that even when you create awareness, it's not that there and then there will be change. It has to be consistently done over a long period of time. Yeah, so I don't want us to undermine the progress that has been made or the traction that has been made, but there's still a lot that we need to do in order for us to at least achieve 50-50 representation, if you get what I'm saying. So awareness plays a very huge role, but also there's another thing that I've been thinking of late, that in terms when we are advocating for women's rights or women's participation or girls' participation, the men must also take the lead, so that we can kill that narrative. Remember, it's a historical thing. So we need the men to come on board to help us. So policy, awareness, but also advocation from the male folk. You can imagine if they take the lead, then the narrative will be changed out there, and there will be acceleration. So for me, I think those three things would really help to accelerate.
Great. So you've mentioned that women representation in leadership positions, it's about 25%.
Yes.
So then let's talk about the barriers. Are there any key barriers that women and girls face in achieving equity in our country?
Yes. The barriers are there, really. And I think one of them is what I'd already mentioned, the unconscious bias. And when we talk about unconscious bias, it came as a result of the historical narrative, yeah? Like the most of the women in the past were considered or were only restricted to home caring, taking care of the home and participating at lower levels. So this narrative has been there for quite a long time. Even if we are seeing traction, yes, there's been change. There are some changes that have taken place. We have seen, female presidents, yeah, but there are few. How many are they? Maybe there's only one or two. You get what I'm saying? So we are making traction, right? But the unconscious bias is the biggest barrier. They always say that, and which is linked to culture. Yeah. So the biggest hindrance to any kind of change is culture. Culture is the biggest thing, and this is what causes the unconscious bias, where people, yes, they know. There's awareness that we are supposed to create a level playing field, even for each gender, right? But you find that in reality, that is not being done. Or if it's being done, it's not done to the desired expectation. So that is one of the barriers. Then secondly, it's also linked to what I've just talked about. There are very few women role models. Even in Zambia, how many women role models do we have who participate even at high leadership levels? How many are they? There are very few. Let's look at the people that are living in underserved areas. Do they have exposure to those people? Yes, for me here, who is living in the urban area and who is elite, I know of people like, let's say, Mizingamelu, people like Dr. Dora Celia, who participated in politics, she made her mark. Different people, talk of Chola, the CEO of FNB. They are very few. But when you compared to our male counterparts. So, role modeling is very important because it creates, or should I say, it invokes inspiration. When you see people who are participating at a higher level, you get to be motivated. They bring possibility closer. That's what happens with role models. So we've got very few role models right now. Then the other thing that I'm also thinking of is lack of mentorship. Lack of mentorship. Already we are saying that the role models are few. And these are the ones that are expected to provide that mentorship, to guide. How do I get to be, to participate even at higher levels? And they are very few. So, and how many, compared to the masses that would want to be mentored by them? So already lack of mentorship. So I'll just go with three. I believe in threes. Yeah. So I've already talked about the unconscious bias, and I've talked about a few role models, and I've also talked about a few mentors really in the market to just invoke and help bring that possibility of participation, especially at higher levels. At lower levels, I think we don't have much of a problem. The problem is at high levels where decisions are made. That's where the biggest problem is. And then maybe when it comes to schools, okay, let's talk about the girl child. For instance, one of the things that I've discovered and I've come to realize that is actually a big issue is what they call hygiene, sanitary hygiene. You see, these are affected, especially again, those that come from underserved families, those that can't afford perhaps to procure sanitary towels. So during the time when they are having their menses, most of them, they miss school. Why? Because of poor hygiene conditions. And they can't even afford. Now, can you imagine that child misses out? How do you expect them to fully participate? Another thing, especially again coming from the underserved communities, is economical resources. You know what I've come to discover? In as much as we can preach about equity here and there, who actually blow the trumpet, but we forget the majority. According to statistics, 60% of the Zambian population, they live below the poverty datum line. Do you know what that means? 60%. Now, if a girl child is coming from a home which is underprivileged, do you expect them to fully participate even in class? Nutrition plays a very big role to one's cognitive skills. So if the child goes hungry at school, if a child goes in tattered uniforms, you can imagine the bullying that they have to deal with at school. do you expect that child, Faith, to participate fully, even just at that level? I just wanted us to bring it lower to the girl child. And these are some of the barriers that they are encountering, even at a younger age. Now you realize that as they begin to grow, because of that, it can actually present a limiting belief in them. And that will actually hinder even their active participation, even when it comes to higher levels. So there are all these things, both for the grown-ups and for the girl child. Yeah.
Wonderful. So then you've just talked about mentorship. That mentorship is one of the barriers that you have mentioned. So how important is mentorship in empowering women and girls?
Wow, that's an excellent question. So, there's I once came across a quote by an unknown person, anonymous. So the quote read, the most important or the second most important relationship that a person can ever have in their entire life, apart from that, the relationship between them and God and in them and their immediate families, is a mentoring relationship. And I really wondered, I started reflecting on that quote, and I realized mentorship is very important. So what does mentorship, what is mentorship? Mentorship really, or a mentorship is relationship, is about, there are two people involved, the mentor and the protege or the mentee. So the mentor is a person who is experienced in a certain area. Okay, and the mentee is one who is not experienced but would love to get guidance on how to navigate the path that the mentor has already navigated. So that is very important. I'll give an example. If I'm traveling to the Copper Belt and I've never traveled there before, a person who has traveled there before will help me to identify the blind spots. So it will make my trip easier because I'll know that the blind spot is maybe by John something. That's where one of the blind spots is. And then there are potholes this side. They are now constructing the road. You get what I'm saying? And this is how you navigate so that your journey is made easier. So they provide guidance. They also provide direction in the area where they're experienced in. Now, if you don't have a lot of people that are experienced, and then you have these masses that are inexperienced, do you think that the mentorship will be widespread? Because one person cannot mentor so many people. So when you have few mentors, it means even the ones that are providing guidance or helping these others to shape a pathway that will help them to get to their destination easily, it means there will be few. So that's the role that mentorship. And another thing, the mentors, they also serve as role models. So remember I said that a role model projects the possibility of that which you would want to achieve in the future. So they project it right there. If I see that, let's say, let me just give an example of the vice president, because before we didn't have that. So now we have a projection, okay, that somebody, a lady, can actually serve as vice president, but then even go beyond. So we are getting closer, right? So if I see somebody in the physical world, presenting that, it means that I can be inspired to even do better or even to follow that particular path. So that's what the role of a mentor, and that's why it's actually the second most important relationship that one needs to have. Yeah. Awesome.
So do you think education can help empower women and girls?
Certainly. You see, what education does is that it gives you information. And information really enhances perspective. That's what it does. So you are able to participate in different fields, in different areas, as long as you've got information. But that's not the only thing that it does. Remember, with education, you are able to also acquire skills. And skills, what brings, for me, I always tell people that a skill is what will bring you money. Education alone will not give you money. But a skill, because you are hands-on, you are applying that information or the education that you acquire. But the other thing that education, the advantage of education is it raises your confidence. And with confidence, you are courageous to participate, even in areas where people think it's difficult for you to participate. You are able to articulate issues, meaning that you can voice out. But if you're not educated, you don't have information. I don't want to restrict it to structured education. And when I say structured education, I mean classroom education, because education goes beyond that. So if you have information, you can easily articulate issues and participate. And then also, provide an input into decision making. But if you're not educated, it's very difficult. And no one will actually even listen to you, because what are you bringing on the table? What people are looking for is, can you bring something to the table? It's value that they are looking for, something that will provide a solution. So education is very important. I always tell people that, please get an education as much, but don't even restrict it to structured education. Yes, it's okay to get classroom education. I have it, but also try to read widely, so that you have enhanced perspective. It will help you to have options in life.
Great.
Yeah.
So this year's theme for the International Women's Day is equity, women and girls empowerment. How would you interpret it?
Wow. So for me, the way I'm interpreting it, Faith, is that we are trying to promote a level playing field where everybody can participate as long as they are human beings. It's not just about the girl child, it's not about the female folk, but it's about everybody. Do we have a playing field? If we have, what we are saying is then we need people to be capacitated. Right, they have to be capacitated in order for them to participate in that field. If the playing field has been leveled, do we all have the necessary resources? So when we talk about equity really and empowerment, we need to understand what are we talking about. Yes, on one aspect we are looking at it, having a leveled playing field, granted. But on the other hand, do we have the resources? So when we talk about empowerment, we're talking about capacitating people with the right resources. So education is not the only resource. Even support itself is a resource. But the other thing for me that really touches my heart is self-awareness. It's the greatest resource that one can ever possess in their entire lives. You can give me money. You can even give me maybe IT resources, any other resource. But if I don't understand who I am, if I don't know what my strength is, what my strength is, or what my weakness is, it will be difficult for me to leverage on those others. So self-awareness is very important because it will direct me. Okay, it's more like I'm the driver. Remember, yes, the resources are like a car. But then for me to get to my destination, I need a driver. So self-awareness is what begins to build the driver in you. So that's another thing, that the foundation of any form of empowerment and development is self-awareness.
Awesome. We now go on a short break. Stay tuned.
Zambia Today is a program that keeps you informed on various government policies and programs. Join us every Tuesday at 18 hours on Zanis TV, Topstar Platform, Channel 6 DTT and 458 DTH. Don't miss.
Welcome back. In case you have just tuned in, you are watching Zambia Today. And on the program, we are talking to Maureen Nenechi, a woman who is a lot of things, including a certified life coach. So, madam, how can parents and guardians support their daughters in pursuing their dreams and ambitions?
They say charity begins at home, and it should not end there. So for me, I believe that this message of empowerment for the girl child should begin from the home. So parents should be able to encourage their children to pursue their interests. And also, they should take time to create a safe space for their children. So if a girl child is encountering a problem or a challenge, the parents should be able to allow their children to express themselves and then be able to offer guidance. I was actually, I count myself blessed because my mom, she believed in women empowerment very much. So she would always tell us, my children, you can actually become like, that time I remember there were people like Margaret Manakatwe. They are the ones that had, they had a presence, women presence. Yeah. So my mom would say, have you seen that one? See how they're doing. Nkanduluo, Professor Nkanduluo, look at how she's doing very well in the marketplace, in her field, in the medical field. You can actually do that. So that really helped me to see myself getting higher in life, if you get what I'm saying. So it should begin from home. What conversations are we having? Are we entertaining the historical narratives that the woman's place is in a home, or that women are less intelligent? Because sometimes we may not say it expressly, but we may say it unconsciously. By the way you act, and the way you maybe restrict participation even at household level. So it's important for the guardians to provide a safe space to their children. Hear them out. Whatever difficulties they're having, don't shut them up. Hear them out and encourage them to participate. If you've seen that your child is interested in football, don't restrain them. Allow them to explore their interests, because that's a natural talent that they have. So encourage them. Don't just say, no, football is for men. No, in today's world, a lady can also play football to their level, really. Everyone plays it at their level. So it's very important for parents to not entertain historical narratives that are limiting. Let's challenge historical narratives that limit or stifle the potential of the children that we live with in our homes. Remember, as parents, we have a duty to inculcate the right values in our children, and also to fertilize their perceptions so that they are able to express their potential without being limited. Yes.
Wonderful. So then I believe men also have a role in this women empowerment. So what role can men play in promoting women empowerment and equity?
Yes. Remember what I said earlier? I said that if the men take the lead to support women empowerment, believe you me, we'll be able to kill the narrative that restricts women participation. So if you see, they say follow the leader. Now, if you see the very men, because remember, what we're trying to do is to send a message out there that participation is not limited to one gender, or every gender is a participant. That's the message that we are trying to put out there. So if that's the message that you're putting out there, the ones that are already being advantaged, the men, if they actually took the lead, believe you me, the narrative would easily change. Right now, the narrative is changing, but it's not being accelerated. So if we want it to be accelerated, let the men folk support the agenda of promoting equity. If they do that, I'm telling you the truth, even the cultural thing, because remember I told you it's a cultural thing, and culture is always the biggest barrier to any kind of change. So if the men folk took part, then we'll see a great improvement.
Great.
Yeah.
Is there any initiatives, are there any initiatives that you would propose to government that they should implement to promote equity for women and girls?
Oh yeah, especially let me talk about women. So for women, especially those that are serving in the public service, there should really be a deliberate policy, to meet to close the gender gaps, because there may be gender disparity somewhere, somehow. I'm not so sure about the statistics in Zambia, but I think if we have a policy that, or even a target to achieve 50-50 representation, which they are trying really, but then we need to see more implementation of that policy. It will really, really help. And then even for the girl child, Remember the problem I talked about, the menstrual hygiene. If only they could also support, provide even free sanitary towels, locate them in different schools, especially those schools, there are certain schools that have been built in underserved areas where people can't afford to have this. I think if they can provide that, it will really help and ensure that there's proper hygiene in terms of there's water, clean water. Because if there's no clean water, again, it becomes an issue. You know how it is. So the government can really support in that. But also, even holding these sensitization programs, they should continue sensitizing and take the lead in sensitizing, because government has got stronger influence, and they even have resources really to reach out to the masses. So if they can take on those initiatives, I think we'll also be able to see change, especially in the girl child who is still going to school. Yeah.
Wonderful. You had talked about culture and attitudes as part of one of the ways that hinder women empowerment. How can we address this issue of cultural attitudes and stereotypes?
Okay, so culture and stereotypes, one and the same thing. They belong to the same WhatsApp group. The best is sensitization and awareness. The more, we should never tire. We should continuously create these, send out the awareness messages, sensitization. This should be an ongoing thing. You can't stop, because change, like I said, cannot happen in one single event. No, change, you need to be consistent until you see, even when you see change taking place, like when you start gaining traction, don't stop. Because what you want to do is to create a narrative that will become a norm. So norms are not just built overnight. It's a long-term project. So we need to continuously sensitize the public on the importance of equity. We need to voice out. We should not stop. The policies must be designed to support equity. Yeah, policies must be designed. In the homes, let's continue having these conversations. Because if you're not going to have a conversation at home, this is where values are actually inculcated. So have the conversations at home. So you can imagine if you're hearing it in different places, the same message. Believe you me, it will be easy for the narrative and for the script to do with equity, for it now to be written and people to begin to respond.
As we conclude the program, what message do you have for the women and girls as we commemorate this year's International Women's Day?
Well, to every woman out there, one thing I want to tell you is this. You are powerful, you are capable, and you are deserving of every opportunity that can support your thriving, your growth, and your participation and contribution. They are very much capable. So this is the message that I have for them, that they are powerful, number one. Because if you know that you are powerful, I'm telling you the truth, even your inner being will be motivated to do greater things. Secondly, they are capable. Nothing can stop you. You are unstoppable as a woman. And lastly, you are deserving of every opportunity that will enable you to thrive. That will be my message.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Nenechi, for coming through to the program.
Thank you so much, Faith, for having me. I've thoroughly enjoyed the interview. Thank you so much.
Well, viewers, that is all we had for you on the program. On behalf of the entire Zanis production team, I have been your host, Faith Katai. Have a pleasant viewing.